big black dog and just a fur-covered pollywog, looking worser than waterlogged, staring through the trees. He's got no name, got no ball, just a broken chain, wet nose upon a window pane, caravan of fleas. Tell me what it takes to be. And tell me what it takes to be somebody to you, because you're everybody to me.
So a little background here. Both Chaz and Lucky were rescues from our local shelter when we lived in Roseburg, Oregon. We had a ranch-style home right on the North Umpqua River with about 3 acres in our backyard. And when I say we lived on the river, I mean the river ran right through our backyard. You could fish from the backyard. So it was sort of a prime spot to have a dog. So we went to the local shelter over the period of like 5 weeks. And every time that we went to the shelter, at least once a week, one thing was always the same. Chaz. He was always there. Sad, I know. Well, Chaz was about 2.5 years old, estimated, because he had been a stray. And every time we saw Chaz, he was jumping up and down in his cage. And I was concerned that being 2 years old, that kind of energy might not be a good fit. I thought that an older dog might be more appropriate. Well, it was probably on that 5th week or so that we saw Chaz, and my daughter had just said, can we just meet him? Can we get him out of the cage and maybe take him for a walk? And of course, that's all she wrote. He is an Australian cattle dog mix, presumably mixed with a lab. I don't know what happened to his tail. I don't know if he was born that way or not. But Chaz is somewhat cross-eyed, somewhat bow-legged, and somewhat pigeon-toed. He also happens to be extremely intelligent. So as for Lucky, Lucky was also adopted at the same shelter that we had adopted Chaz from. It was a couple of years after we had had Chaz. My daughter was volunteering at the same shelter, and she came home and she said that she had found a dog that would be a perfect companion for Chaz. But what was interesting is that during the daytime, Lucky was not in a pen or kennel or cage or whatever you want to call it. He was basically set loose to be a mascot of sorts. And so he hung out in the adoption room and the director's room. He was just sort of around for people to see, I guess. And he just got along with everybody. And once we brought Chaz in to meet with Lucky, and I immediately adopted him. And it was probably within about 3 hours that they were best friends. And they've been that way, just peanut butter and jelly ever since then. They're just absolutely perfect together. Chaz and Lucky have a lot in common, but they are also very, very different. Chaz acts like a 2-year-old or a 4-year-old or a 10-year-old. He doesn't act like an adult as Lucky would. He is a goofball, and he likes to play. He still has that unbridled energy. I talked before about him being in the kennel, bouncing up and down. He's very much the same way. That's not him all day long, but he hasn't lost a step. He might be a lot grayer than he was, but he is still very, very energetic. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, if you get a banana anywhere around him, or mention the word COOKIE or TREAT, you're going to see him do the bounce. Now, there are a few other things that elicit that joyous energy, if you want to call it that. One of them, actually three of them, are related to when we drive. If he hears the GPS, if he hears the blinker, or if he senses my pressing the brake, that energy comes out. Now, obviously, he's not going to bounce up and down, but it does become a challenge to manage sometimes when we travel. But other than that, I mean, he is a pure joy to travel with. If he has a preferred environment, it is probably rock hopping. It's you look at your dog and you feel like he's having a joyful moment. And normally when I see that, it is in a forest area or when it's really rocky. Alabama hills, for example, or just in a small creek where he can just sort of wade and jump from rock to rock. That seems to be his preferred territory. When we take walks, when we're off lead, he is 30 yards ahead of us, always. He walks fine. On lead, it's not an issue, but he likes sort of to play explorer. And I try to be able to accommodate that desire within him whenever we can. So now Lucky is interesting in his own way. If I was a dog that was 10 years old, I'd probably be Lucky. We get along really well together. And, he is always by my side. And that's part of the reason why when you see video that I've done, you're more likely to see Chaz than you are Lucky. Lucky doesn't get out in front of me. Not too much. In fact, when he does, he looks at me as if he's asking for permission. And I'll say, okay, go get your brother. Because Chaz is always, like I said, 30 yards out there. And then he'll just haul ass after his brother. But unless I say that, he's not inclined to be able to leave my side. The other thing is, for whatever reason, whether it's the camera or my phone pointed at him, he doesn't really like it. And he tends to shy away from it. I don't know what it is, but it is much more difficult to be able to get Lucky on camera than it is for Chaz. If I've got a camera around, Chaz will just run right up to it. Lucky turns around and goes the other way. I don't know why, but that tends to be the case. There are a couple of things about Lucky that are peculiar, right? One is that, I hate to have to go here, but I will, because it's interesting. He poops on bushes. Not always on bushes, but primarily on bushes. If I take him out for a walk, I have to find candidates for pooping bushes. It's weird, I know. The other thing that is peculiar about him is that he does not like turkey vultures. Now, when we lived on the North Umpqua River, we had at times upwards of 20 or 30 circling turkey vultures. But we also had ducks, geese, heron, egret, bald eagles, hawks, and of course, blue jays, sparrows, and blackbirds or whatever. He didn't have issue with any of them. Only turkey vultures. And what he would do is he would just chase them and bark and just try to get them out of the yard. To this day, if I point to the sky, he will haul ass thinking that he'll just look straight up in the sky and he'll just trying to scare away the turkey vultures. He's also not subject to the same triggers that Chaz is. I mean, when he is in the front seat watching the world go by, that's his happy place. If there's anything that brings him joy, it is just watching the world go by as we're driving. That's it. And when we get to wherever destination that we are, and the doors open in the van, he's consumed by all this energy, and he does this thing where he sort of gives me a high five, where he'll come running straight at me and he'll jump up and he's waiting for me to hit him with my hand. But those are his moments of joy. So I think that about does it. I think that if we ever have the opportunity to share a camp together, that you'll understand why these guys are so special to me too. And until then, I will leave you with a little dog joy. Talk to you soon.
Lately I've been thinking about the end of time, and whether I could write a song so true that you'd be mine, mine, mine. It's worth a try. My mind's been drifting towards the end of days, but I can reel it back if you decide.